Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Abdul, and you're joining the Project Management webinar series. This series isn't built for noise or vanity metrics, it's built for people who deliver. Senior project managers, leaders, directors, founders, and decision makers responsible for real outcomes. From January to March, we're hosting a focused set of expert led LinkedIn live sessions where experienced professionals break down how projects, transformations, and teams are being run today and not how they are described in outdated playbooks. One important note: these sessions are part of a bigger journey that leads to a private in person working event at the Malaga Tech Park in March. This isn't a conference, it's a curated, hands on experience for leaders who want to actively shape the future of project management and AI. And the webinars give you early access to the thinking, strategies, and conversations that come together in Malaga. But more on that later. A quick thank you to the partners supporting this series: ClickUp, ActiveCampaign, Zapier, and Musant, platforms helping teams stay aligned, move faster, and scale execution without unnecessary complexity. Now, back to the webinar. Here's what to expect today: no theory only info, no copy paste presentations, and no passive listening. What you'll hear today is how real project management leaders navigate overwhelming workloads without burning out. And you'll have space at the end to ask questions. Now, let me introduce you to today's guest. Her name is Eva D'lom. Eva brings more than 25 years of clinical research program management experience to her mission of helping overwhelmed PM leaders reclaim their time and sanity. She's led complex global projects and programs across oncology, biosimilars, dermatology, and infectious diseases at pharma and top tier CROs, spending a decade as a director of project management and five of those years in the PMO as the go-to expert for program management. She supported over 1,500 employees, leading process improvement initiatives and leading PM training and onboarding. Eva then founded DeLong Company. DeLong Company combines three things that don't exist together: brain based coaching grounded in neuroscience, clinical research, project management, mentoring, and practical generative AI training. Eva, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you for that nice presentation and for having me.
No, thank you very much, Eva. It's a pleasure for us. And before we actually dive in, three quick questions to set the stage. In a few seconds, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, your introduction covered quite a lot. Not sure what else can I say. I was born in Spain, but lived many years abroad, among other places, London and Munich. But life took me back to Spain, and yeah, so I didn't stop the appetite for international flavor. So I've always worked globally and I still work globally. What else? Since I was little, I always wanted to help people through medicine, not direct contact with patients, and not. I'm not a frustrated doctor, but through genetics. And in Spain, when I studied university, the only way to do it was through molecular biology and biochemistry. So I did it. What else can I say? I'm passionate about helping people through different voluntary work that I've done, my role in the PMO for sure, and nowadays coaching. I'm a big fan of working smart, or as I like to call it, being strategically lazy with excellent results.
Amazing, outstanding. Yeah, no, that's a big journey, I think, and yeah, quite inspiring for many people that are listening to us today. And yeah, how did you end up in project management, more related to your area of neuroscience?
Well, after finishing the degree, I actually had already organized a PhD at the Imperial College for gene therapy,
Mhm.
but life happened, and I ended up completing a master's degree in Navarra. Not quite the same as London, but But after that 1.5 years long and very, very intense master degree, I found it very difficult to step into my first job, like many, many people, I guess. And particularly in clinical research, because at that time, only pharmacists or doctors were welcome. I managed to do that after a while, not while, because it took me quite a lot of time to get the CVs through. That long that I decided to work as a waitress in the UK, and I ended up in London, nearby Heathrow. So yeah, maybe I've served some of you. And I kept on sending CVs. Finally, got through the door in Spain, and within a year, I was back in London. I started as a CRA, as a clinical research associate in Fujisawa. And after a couple of years in London, I moved to Germany, to the European headquarters, where I was in pharmacokinetics studies and early development. But Fujisawa merged with Yamanuchi, becoming what is now called Astellas Pharma. And yeah, I didn't fancy moving to Holland. So I got my first project manager position at PPD in Munich, and the rest is history.
Wow, quite amazing. Yeah, curriculum that you have and a lot of experience as well. Yeah, with your projects at the moment, what is the main problem that you're trying to solve through your work? Just in a few seconds. Obviously, we're going to cover it in your presentation, just to have like a teaser for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, basically is to help, as you said at the beginning, to help project management leaders go from overwhelmed to empowered. I mean, who hasn't heard at some point in their careers work smarter, not harder, but never heard the how?
Mhm.
I find that very frustrating knowing that 82% of employees are at risk of burnout, and particularly in project management, right? So many new PMs or PDs, because anytime that I say PM, I mean anybody in project management. Okay.
Mhm.
So as I was saying, I've seen many PMs that are new, drowning in the imposter syndrome, no, no capable of doing things just because there are not guidelines really for clinical research project management. The PMI PM book is not very helpful for us, and they don't have a lot of help. The line managers are usually billable people, so they don't have any FTE dedicated for teams development, and they feel lost. The same with experienced PMs.
Mhm.
They know it all, but they want to progress. And since AI, I mean, these project managers are really, really, really constrained in time. Time poverty is paramount. So they're not going to go into long AI trainings where most of the stuff is not applicable or not really useful for project management, at least in clinical research.
Mhm.
So I've done it. I've done the 6 months, very long and very intense training. And what I do is I digest it. I've digested it and I curate it for them. So I customize the solutions just for the projects wherever the stage they are. And as you mentioned, my main focus is brain-based coaching.
Mhm.
I should say brain-based executive coaching, because I'm going to present few strategies here, and there are many more. And I share them with my clients at the same time that I help them feel more in control, overcoming the burnout, that imposter syndrome, the guilt, the frustration, so many things. I mean, it's like another lovely sentence. I mean, you need to improve your executive presence. Yes, but how? So yeah, that's basically customizing all my services, how I help them go from overwhelmed to empowered.
Okay,
Sorry,
no,
it's
that's
longer.
yeah.
You speak.
That's amazing. I think yeah, a lot of people will be interested in knowing more. So yeah, Eva will be speaking about brain-based strategies and Gen AI shortcuts to master your work without sacrificing your life. And yeah, she's also known to be the brain-friendly PM leader. So I'm sure that for people who are leading complex programs, feeling overwhelmed by competing priorities, or even try to integrate AI without wasting time on courses. I think this will be highly, highly relevant. So, Eva, over to you. Feel free to share your screen.
Thank you. I'll start sharing. And before I do that,
Mhm.
thank you everybody for making some time to be here today or to watch the video. I understand that it's in the middle of most of the people's day and it's not easy to get an hour or so out in your calendar. So, can you see me?
Yes, I can see a presentation. Awesome.
Lovely. So, yeah, today's presentation is about brain friendly project management strategies based in brain based strategies and using generative AI. Because, as I said, it's lovely to hear work smarter, not harder, but with how will be better. And here is the how. I'm not going to go through these because of the the questions that Abdul already shared, and I explained most of it. I guess that I didn't say that I'm PMP, that I graduated in international business management, the Smurf school in Dublin in the UCD, and I'm a ICF member. This is the International Coaching Federation, and certified in brain-based coaching and getting certification in executive coaching. I've done it for many years, but didn't have the certification, so I'm finalizing that. I mentioned already that I spent 6 very intense months learning everything in AI, from prompting to image generation, video generation, automations, app designing, etc. But for everything I explained before, I yeah, I think that it needs to be digested and provided in small pills, depending on what the client's needs. And that's why I founded D'lom Co. You mentioned Abdul D'lom Company, that is actually strategically for coaching, company, consulting. It's very versatile. And what I aim is to do brain-based coaching and leadership development. So now, what are we going to see today? First, if you allow me, I want to get everybody grounded. Then I'll go through the challenge, the solution, few strategies to help you all. And if you want, go deeper. I'll share some news, and we can have our Q&A at the end. It's going to be at the end, but please do not hesitate asking questions, interacting in the chat. I cannot see it at the minute while I'm sharing, but I'm sure that Abdul will share all the questions that you have. So please, Abdul, do not hesitate interrupting me. Good. So let's get grounded. Let me ask you something. You don't need to answer, but I want you to think about what's in your head right now. Is it urgent? Because if it's urgent, just please, by all means, go and take care of it. Otherwise, just put it aside. Let's do a couple of minutes. It's literally 2 minutes exercise. Yeah? Okay. So, name 5 things that you can see around you. Now, notice 4 things that you can touch or feel. Identify 3 things you can hear. Recognize 2 things that you can smell. And acknowledge 1 thing that you can taste. How do you feel now? Did you notice any difference from 2 minutes ago? Well, in just a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, we have cleared our mind And our brain is able to go from stress to focus. This is something that you can use at any time. It's very simple. It's not any long mindfulness exercise. It's just 2 minutes, but it helps you focusing, engaging with the learning or the task at hand, and increase memory retention. And in this situation, in this webinar, building connection and psychological safety. So don't forget it. What we see affects us. So let's control the gateway of our experience. Good. The challenge. You see, there are a lot of factors, a lot of situations. I'm sure that you can think about a million more, but I'm just representing that for what most of the PMs experience. In neuroscience, Dr. Carol Osterville identifies two different kinds of brains: the thinking brain and the survival brain. The thinking brain, which is working, is this super powerful brain that helps you plan strategically, solve complex problems, manage delicate sponsor relationships effectively, etc. But when a stress kicks in, that thinking brain goes offline. You default to survival mode and become reactive, defensive, and you think it becomes rigid. You're just fighting your biology. That's not what we want, right? We want to go with our biology and work with our brain. So everything is smoother and we don't feel so tired. How do we do that? Well, Aristotle already hinted us, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, he said. And neurointelligence is basically that, is how smart someone is about his or her own brain capabilities. In other words, it's understanding how your brain works and use that knowledge to think, decide, and learn more effectively. Because you don't need to be a rocket scientist, right? Scientist, sorry. You just need to know how to take the best out of your brain with a little bit of neuroscience, just to work with your brain instead of against it. And that's actually the how of the work smarter, not harder paradigm. Because the image, I'm sure that is how you feel probably now. Because in project management, as the business strategists like to say or define, is we live in a VUCA environment. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Volatile because we all know that priorities, scope, and stakeholder expectations can change quickly. Uncertain because the requirements, risks, and outcomes are rarely fully known at the start, particularly in clinical research or R&D projects. Complex, well, we all know what we we need to handle, right? There are like multiple work streams, different tools, many stakeholders, and cost effect is not always obvious. Ambiguous, because you never, even if you have the luxury of finding yourself in the situation, you never feel like you are making decisions with all the information at hand. It's always with partial data or evolving definitions of success. So, what is happening here with this environment? Does it affect us? Of course, it does. It does. And neuroscientist Dr. David Rock, who is the founder of the Neuro Leadership Institute, where I studied, defines it very well with the SCARF model. The SCARF stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. While you are in a VUCA environment, your status is very fragile because you feel judged. second guessed. You feel very weak, let's say. Certainty, with this already mentioned, that is not happening there. Autonomy, how can you feel that you are in control of everything if we have, and for good reasons, very tight procedures? And I know that because I used to be the SOP owner for the project management teams, but that is affecting our autonomy. We don't feel in control. Relatedness with the global environment, cross-functional teams, the sponsor, the vendors, the third parties, everything. There's always an us and them feeling, and that is not helping feel that closeness to your co-workers. And fairness. Well, we have competing projects, competing clients, different specifications, different requirements. It's very easy to feel that our environment is unfair. But we don't want to stay there. What we want, right, is our brain to flow, to have brilliant ideas, to be able to work with our biology. And how do we do that? With the neuro leadership approach is my recommendation that you can do. Maybe there are some other ways. I'm sure there are. But what I'm going to present you here is the approach for the for turning that scarf, which was so negative in the VUCA environment, into one that is going to help you. Because your status can change easily when you change your wording, when you include, um, recognition that is private, you frame feedback around improvement, not personal value, and other ways. Certainty, as a PM, we can make clear roadmaps, help with dashboards, help with what now is much better with the project management tools like ClickUp, Monday.com, or so on, but we used to do it with MSP. But having certainty of what is going to happen. It's never going to be 100% because we know is not possible, but at least to know when things are coming to your desk or when your team members are going to get them. Autonomy, just give people, some power on the decisions, at least on when things should be happening in their area of expertise and not micromanage. Just create clear boundaries in your delegation, but giving them autonomy. Having your cameras on in a team call or in a client call will help with that relatedness and fairness. Just explain. Communication is key, and here you can help people feel from feeling an unfair situation to a completely fair and feeling better. Good. So with the neural intelligence in mind, what I'm going to do now is to go through some strategies. I have prepared six, but not sure if we're going to have time to go through all of them. So you can always go to my LinkedIn, or if you want more detail, go to my blog where I include 18. Lately, I've been including 18. There's much more, but there's 18 strategies to help you with the different protocols step by step with several AI prompts examples and real life experiences. So let's crack on. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to your most powerful filter system that I'm sure that you never knew about it. This is the reticular activating system. What is this? Basically, right now, your brain is being bombarded with around 11 million bits of information every single second. But your conscious mind cannot handle more than 40 bits per second. So how does this work with the RAS? Think of the RAS as a nightclub bouncer. It lets in what you've told it matters and keeps out everything else. So the question is isn't whether it's working or not. The question is whether you've programmed it intentionally or accidentally. That is the key. And most of the overwhelmed PMs have accidentally programmed the RAS. They notice every potential problem, every email notification, every possible risk, sorry, every demanding a stakeholder request, and you name it. The RAS is just an alert and just catching all the threats. And this is why we end up exhausted, reactive, and completely missing strategic opportunities that are just in front of us. However, just one second. As I was saying, however, Dr. David Rock his research in the Neuro Leadership Institute demonstrated that we can change that. That the RAS function as an attention regulator prioritizes inputs based on what we've identified as important. And this is what explains that. I'm sure that you have experience with different things, but imagine that you have decided that you want to buy a red car, and you suddenly start noticing red cards all over the place. Hasn't that happened to you? Well, it certainly has happened to me. So how do we change that accidental threat detection mode to a mode for opportunity and recognition identification? We can do it by deliberately programming our RAS. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, what we need to do is to check and understand what our RAS is currently programmed to notice. So just for 1 week, for example, track everything that captures your attention, everything that that catches that grabs your focus, and write it down. Do that for a week, and at the end of the week, just categorize those. Are they threats or are they opportunities? Are they problems or possibilities? Are they urgent or perhaps strategic priorities? Once you have categorized them, just define what your strategic filters are, because now you can select what you want to keep. You can do it by asking yourself, what patterns would a strategic PM in my situation notice? For example, you can do it in a different way. But the point is here is write these down. That helps your brain understand what you want. But be specific. Saying nice opportunities is too vague. What you need to say is, for example, in a clinical research environment, is like notice when site coordinators mention recruitment challenges 3 weeks in a row. It is, it's important. And this way, when you write it down specifically, it helps your RAS to start filtering for those. Third step will be priming your RAS every morning. What is this? It's basically where the magic happens, because you are predetermining your brain to watch out for this. So I welcome you for the next 21 days, just to spend 5 minutes reviewing your strategic filters, those that you have defined in step 2. And ask yourself, for example, what do I need to notice today? What patterns matter the most? What would my sponsor want me to spot early? Whatever makes sense for you. Write down 2 or 3 specific things that you want to watch for that day. Just that's it. You will see changes happening. You will see that you won't have to consciously think about it anymore. Your brain will start flagging these patterns before you even realize. And this is actually what elite performers do in any field. Step 4, create environmental triggers. Just get some stickers or calendar reminders to help you. They will prepare your RAS before key interactions. You can do it before a sponsor meeting or a difficult call. Do this every time that you have a key meeting, or do it weekly. Weekly RAS review, which is the step 5, will help you. You might dedicate like 15 minutes at the end of your week, but once you document the observations that come out, for example, when you ask yourself, what patterns did I notice this week that I would have missed before? What strategies? What early warning signals did I catch? As I said, whatever suits you. But over the time, this will become your pattern library, and it will help you a lot in the future. Not only because you will recognize more opportunities, but because you will be able to identify new opportunities. Here, I'm just showing you an example of a prompt, because AI nowadays, if you use it right, it could be a fantastic brainstorming partner. This is just one, but you can, in your favorite LLM, just create different prompts to help you. Another one for the daily priming protocol designer. And as Robin Sharma said, and I think that summarizes very well what we want here, what you focus on expands. So let's focus on what is optimal for you. The second strategy is ultradian rhythms. And here is a question for you. I cannot see how many people are on the session, but let's see if we can make it interactive.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Eva. Yeah, I've got 3 participants. We haven't got any questions, but yeah, I think from what people were saying before, they just wanted to have some real life experiences, how they can manage the stress on their day-to-day lives. I mean, you're already covering it anyway, but yeah, I will also list all the questions at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, have you ever noticed that you feel sharp and focused at 9 a.m., but then by the early afternoon you can barely think straight? Or maybe you have noticed that you are incredibly productive some days, but some others is completely useless. Well, do not imagine this is just not your error. It's not your mistake, because your brain doesn't operate on a constant capacity. We think it does, but it doesn't. It has different rhythms. These are the ultradian rhythms of 90 to 120 minutes, that if you don't respect the rhythms with some recovery periods afterwards, your cognitive output will be reduced by 40 to 60. It is a lot. And most PMs are, just going through the day with a constant power, full marathons, no breaks, just giving it all. But then the quality of their outputs are like not that good. Whereas if you respect the peaks and the rests and the peaks, taking that ultradian rhythm of 90 minutes per cycle, then you will flow in a different way. You will see that During the day, we have, let's say, like around 3 to 5 peaks of these ultradian rhythms. So if we respect the breaks, the recovery breaks, we will get out like 4.5, 6 hours of full optimal cognitive output, which is so much more than what you can get done by 10 hours, by working 10 hours, full gas and no stops. And you get to go home earlier. And why is that? Sorry. Why is that? The reason is because during the peaks, you get the neurotransmitters, sorry, the neurotransmitters, they're helping your cognitive, wonderful thinking out. But after 90 minutes, they are depleted. So if you don't rest, they don't get replenished. And that means you're just dragging. As I said, you might think that you are operating at 80%, but in fact, you're just operating at 40, 50 tops capacity. So not really helping. And how do we change this? I think you already know the answer, by respecting our natural cycles. And it's quite easy, really. It doesn't take that long. Imagine for 7 days, and let me just pause there for a minute because I'm mentioning different simple strategies, but I don't want you to do them all at once. Just choose one, experience for a few months, and then once it's implemented and if it works for you, then go with another one. Yeah, don't try to do several at the same time. Good. So as I was saying, it's very simple. Just for 7 days, just set an alarm that every hour you are going to track your mental energy. You just need to rate it. Give it 3 points if you are in a high energy or focus state, 2 points if you are in a moderate energy, and 1 point if you are in a lower energy. Don't try changing anything, just observe and record. That's all. Because then we are going to map the high value work to these peak phases. What we want is to know when this is happening. Most people have from, I don't know, 9 to 11 when they start working until mid morning. Oh, obviously, it depends at what time you start. But the first couple of hours at work is when you have your peak cognitive capacity. After that is decreasing until lunch, that then you are in your worst capacity. The post lunch dips is the worst, or late afternoon. This is just these are just statistics, but what I recommend is that you do your own analysis, that you track your best timings and use them. Because then on step 3, what I want you is to align your calendar. So you do your most brain intensive work, like strategic planning, complex risk analysis, having difficult sponsor conversations, or I don't know, budget modeling. Do that at your peaks. In the moderate windows, you can just do more routine work like standard report preparations, routine sponsor updates, or things like that. And leave for the low energy window your emails, calls, admin tasks, expense reports, things like that. I don't know about you, but I used to start my day at work just checking emails. And obviously, I was losing all my peak. That wasn't very smart from my side. So I hope this helps you. And once you identify how you want to do it, yes, protect those peak phases and your recovery breaks ruthlessly. Block your calendar. Because nowadays it's very easy. I mean, you can just set an alarm in your mobile, or I personally use Timeout. It's a free version, it's an app that, yeah, sometimes I don't feel very nice about it, but because it grays out my screen, but it helps me knowing that I need to stop. And with just 10 minutes, you replenish your neurotransmitters and become much more productive. So we've talked about protecting your day, but don't forget about your week. Design it. So let's say, for example, Monday mornings, you focus on strategic planning when you are fresh. And Tuesdays and Wednesdays, complex analytical work. Thursday, more routine execution. And Friday afternoon, although sometimes we have to do client calls, is if you can, leave it for admin work. You're going to have a lot of friction initially with your team and your clients, but try explaining. If people explain with that certainty that we discussed earlier, it's much better. It's not always possible, but at least you know what you could be doing. And when you plan your week, try to batch similar work in the same day. There is another strategy that I'm not going to go through here that is called chunking, and another one called attention residue. And the thing is that if when you have a task at hand, you finish it, you think that you're done, but actually your brain is retaining like 23% of the capacity on the previous task. So when you start something different, you lose that 23%. But if you chunk, different tasks and put them together after your recovery periods, of course, you don't lose that 23%. In fact, you get more productive. That's another way of working smarter rather than harder. And as always, try using AI. Use it for identifying where is your optimal peak or anything else. And as Tony Schwartz says, manage your energy, not your time. We've been told so many times, and I remember giving multiple sessions on time management, but I wish I knew this back then because I would have presented it. I think it's much more efficient to work with your brain than with your calendar. Good. Third one, priming. I guess that this sounds of, I don't know, if any of you have painted a wall in your house, you know that if you forget to prime, the end result of the paint is not the same. So here is the same basically. And let me ask you, what's the very first thing you do when you start your day? I mean, the very first one, before your coffee or anything. Because if you are like me, or most of the PMs that are overwhelmed, you start with emails and then you start seeing, all kind of problems. You see alerts, you see threats, risks everywhere. And the neuroscience is very clear. This simple habit of checking the email first is programming your entire day for reactive firefighting before you even accomplish a single piece of strategic work. It's not an attitude, it's not a matter of you convincing yourself, the mindset is neurological. And is, I think, one of the most powerful and yet overlooked mechanisms for shaping your daily performance. In fact, since I come from clinical, there has been a meta-analysis of 352 priming experiments, not just a couple, that found that this is happening and that this is measurable. So just be careful. And there is also some scientific research that say that this is even more powerful when you're focusing on things that you value. So yeah, considering that your career advancements and your project success are generally valued outcomes, So we really need to start changing and moving from this accidental crisis priming that we are doing in the morning to a more strategic one, because whatever you encounter first shapes how you process everything afterwards. And my proposed protocol for that is deliberate programming, just in 5 minutes. Is very simple. So every morning, and as I said, take one strategy at a time, please. Every morning before you open your email or you do anything, just dedicate 2 minutes to think, review what you want to achieve that week. Which project milestones do you want to achieve? Or which relationships do you want to build stronger? Just focus on something. No problem solving, no firefighting, nothing. This is a simple act to prime your brain in the right direction. Then I ask a focusing question. For example, what opportunity should I create today? And again, this is not hocus pocus. This is all neuroscience. Because, as I said, by thinking about it, you're more prone to find opportunities rather than firefighting. And instead of asking that question, you could ask, what value can I create for my sponsor today? Or, I don't know, what problem can I prevent before it becomes urgent? Anything that is worrying you. And then finish with a couple of minutes of reading something inspiring. It doesn't need to be anything dense, but a paragraph from a leadership book, or something, some reflection on your professional goals that inspire you. The content doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact that you're priming your brain with intentional, elevated thinking rather than other people's urgencies. And while you do it every morning, don't stop there. Just do it before any key meeting. If you have a delicate sponsor call, you can do this. Or before a team problem solving session, you can think, I'm going to facilitate creative solutions, not just identifying problems. And I'm going to help my team feel empowered. Yeah, there are many cases. I I welcome you to test it. You can be getting help from the LLMs. I particularly like very much Claude. I'm not a GPT fan. GPT, I leave it for more technical things. But use the one that helps you the most and the one that you are able to use in your work environment, because that might be only Microsoft Pilot. So whatever suits you. But just ask for help. And remember, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. I hope you're liking this. I enjoyed, and it's a pity that there could not be more interaction. Anyway, next one. Pattern recognition and expertise. Have you ever watched a senior colleague glance at a project status report and in a glance, I mean, I'm saying 30 seconds here in the question, but it could be just a couple of seconds. They just go and say, oh, here, this is where you need to pay attention. You are completely lost and thinking, how do they do it? Yeah, because if you're new in the field, you don't really have the instructions. You are completely lost. However, your I mean, your hippocampus stores patterns from every experience that you have. You need to use it, because that's how the senior PMs get it. They have the answers because they have experienced it. They have recognized the patterns. And what they have done is not being psychic or anything like this. They're not smarter than you or anything. But what they have done is to build a rich pattern library. And that's why once they have it in the brain, in milliseconds, They can automatically, unconsciously identify things. But I'm not going to ask you to wait for 10 years to get that, because nowadays we have a lot of help. You can do it with AI. Because remember, before I go forward, AI, and I know that in many places is shown as a threat, that your neuronal connections are shattered and you become, dull. But it depends on how you use it. If you use it to challenge you, if you use it to brainstorm with you, it can help you, it can empower you. And that's what I want to suggest. Because the time that you think about something new, or if you experience something new, is exactly the same. It has the same importance to your brain that when AI discovers something for you. It's like when you switch the light in a room that was dark, obviously. The minute you see what is in there, you cannot unsee it. So it's the same. Anyway, let's go through the protocol. I recommend that you build your own your pattern library. It could be by going through several questions that I put on the slides. What happened? What do I? What outcome was followed? Was it useful? Was it not useful? Or ask others. Ask more senior colleagues. But don't just say, "Oh, how do you do this?" No, ask them for specific signals that they watch for, combinations of the different indicators. Just ask more in-depth questions. And use, for sure, as I said, your AI, because it can dramatically accelerate your pattern library growth. So once you have your library, just categorize your patterns so you can use them in the future. You might want to create a little checklist for yourself, so you shortcut long processes. Yeah. But when using AI, please always validate what AI has identified. Don't just trust it blinded. And trust yourself on your experience of the context that you can do better. It's just a support, okay? Good. So let's see, an example of your pattern recognition prompt is here. Another one for the library accelerator. As I said, you can find them on my blog, many more. And here for the historical data pattern analyzer. These are things that you don't need to spend a lot of time on, but I will advise that when you include your input, you be very specific. Another one for the expert pattern interview guide and for the trainer. Okay, so as Gary Klein says, the expert sees patterns where the novice sees chaos. That's what we are trying to show here. And the last strategy is one of my favorites. Because imagine I offer you two choices. A, I give you 100 euros, guaranteed. Or I give you an option B, where I flip a coin. If it's heads, you get 250. If it's tail, you get 0. What would you choose? Mathematically, option B is better. But most people will choose option A because the 100 euros is a guaranteed gain. Yeah? Now imagine I change the scenario. Option A, you lose 100 euros, guaranteed. Option B, I flip a coin. Heads, you lose 250. Tails, you lose nothing. Which one will you use now? Yeah? Option A? Well, most people would choose option B because it is because the loss is warranted and you don't want that. And basically, this has a neuroscientific reason behind because your brain fears losses approximately 2 to 2.5 times more intensively than it values equivalent gains. And this is exactly what the loss aversion is. It was discovered by Daniel Kahneman and Dr. Tversky, and is affecting you every single day. Just imagine in the past with our ancestors. For them, losing food or shelter or the status could be fatal. I mean, gaining could be nice, but not survival critical. Your ancestors were more motivated to avoid losses than to pursue equivalent gains, and it was perfect for them. However, we still have that in our genes, and it's not working for us so well, right? But overwhelmed PMs have this. They operate in constant threat detection mode. Every email, every sponsor call, every decision that you need to take, you get paralyzed. Every metric might indicate delays. You're hyper vigilant, and it is exhausting. The brain is the way it is, and is constantly scanning for losses to prevent, and is missing opportunities as well. Same environment, but completely different filtering basis. So let's reframe it. Let's forget about this loss, but in a way that we use it, not fear it. And we start reframing things, get opportunities in our radar for once, and improve our situation. How? Working with the loss aversions instead of against it. Yeah. And I propose, again, one strategy at a time, that you dedicate 5 minutes when you start your day to reframe your daily focus. Ask yourself the 3 opportunity questions that we were talking about before, so you can strategically prime your cognitive orientation. For example, instead of thinking, what problems need preventing today? Ask yourself, what opportunities can I create today? This primes your prefrontal cortex for strategic thinking. Both questions are perfectly legitimate, but address important aspects of project management, and they are differently. They are different neurologically. One is attracting danger, stress activation, etc., whereas the other is is making you more prone to identify opportunities and be more creative in problem solving. So once you have it, use it and try repeating it every day. It might be a good one to start with because it's quite simple. And another strategy, is to use this loss aversion in your favor, because it usually prevents your innovation. Because trying new approaches means risking failure. Nobody wants that. Your brain particularly feels that is a significant threat and blocks. And instead of overriding your loss aversion, try doing a small experiment, like protected environment. And this is going to help you not only being innovative, something that is very appreciated, but in becoming less reactive to that loss aversion. Yeah? And the last step that I put in the protocol is to document prevented losses. I know that when I say document, everybody goes, in the minds, oh yes, right, as I didn't have anything admin to do already. Well, just dedicate 15 minutes every Friday. Do a summary of what you have prevented because of this new approach. It's going to be really, really useful, not only for your brain, but for your motivation. Seeing the good things that you have done, even when they're not obvious and they're not visible to others, that's going to give you a boost in motivation. When you have this kind of, let's say, a prevented losses log, you can also use it externally whenever you need it for a performance review, for sponsor relationship discussions on anything. It seems a waste of time, but on the long term is really helpful because it also helps your reticular activation system, the RAS, to notice prevention opportunities. So the more you do it, the easier it is. And with AI, you can prompt for getting help to do your loss aversion decision audit and risk framing analyzer, the sunk cost recovery protocol as well, decision bias detector, because we know that we're all biased, risk communication framing. Yeah, we haven't mentioned communication, but imagine all these 7 strategies, how will improve the way you communicate and you get your message through. Is life-changing, I can tell you. And as Zig Ziglar said, the fear of losing what you have is often greater than the desire to get what you want. And he, maybe without knowing, was referring to the prospect theory and loss aversion. So these are the 6 strategies for today. But I said that I was going to give you some news. You can go deeper. I mentioned my blog, but very soon, I hope that in the next couple of weeks, I'll be releasing my first book, the Empowered PM Toolkit, where I include 18 strategies with practical AI prompts and even what is designed for project management professionals, and particularly using examples from clinical research. I think that it can be used for any manager who has teams and vendors and sponsors. Is for more people. Anyway, something that is also useful in the book is there is an implementation roadmap included. Where to start, how to continue, how many weeks or months to dedicate to each of them. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy the presentation. And, yeah, I give it back to you, Abdul. No, without saying sorry. Apart from thank you, you can find me at Eva at D'lom Co, or my website, D'lom Co, or in LinkedIn. Thank you.
Amazing, Eva. That was, yeah, fantastic. Really clear, transparent, and grounded. For me personally, yeah, what stood out was how you connected neuroscience to real PM challenges, especially in environments where leaders are expected to deliver excellence, but still maintaining their well-being. And yeah, I mean, this perspective, it's exactly what we're trying to bring to the audience so that we can understand that it's possible as long as we have routines, we have a method. And yeah, I mean, even this, even the final slide where you presented your book, I mean, this is, yeah, it has all the ingredients.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Let me see. Yeah, like the first one is, how can PM stay in the thinking brain during high pressure moments when everything feels urgent and the survival brain takes over?
Well, it's with practice. You cannot expect that this is going to happen overnight. I mentioned several strategies that you can use, like 5 minutes priming in the morning.
Mhm.
So your resilience grows thicker, and use some others. There is actually the strategy 18 is focus on stress management. So you'll see it. either in LinkedIn, my blog, or the book. Thanks for the question.
Awesome, awesome. Let me see. Yeah, look, like for example, you mentioned about the reticular activating system. How can PM leaders intentionally use this system to filter noise and stay focused on the right priorities?
Well, just follow the protocol. Let me just go back. Remember that again, this is a 5 minutes exercise in your morning, priming where you want to look for. But understand first, you need to understand what you are currently doing. I mean, something that in habit formation, which is another strategy included in the book, includes is that do not think that you are going to replace a habit that you have had for years in few days. In fact, the habits that neural connection is formed there, and you're never going to break it. Is almost impossible to remove it. However, you can grow beside it another one and practice and practice and practice and build muscle. That's kind of how you're going to do it with time, patience, and love to yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, time and patience are the best way, and they're very critical for people, with busy schedules and yeah, busy calendars for sure. I've
But
got
that's
another
why I look
one.
for protocols where we could just dedicate 5 minutes because I've been
Yes.
there and I know that you rush from one place to the other and multitasking and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Many PMs want to use Gen AI, but feel it adds cognitive load instead of reducing it. So, what's the simplest brain-friendly way to integrate AI into daily PM workflows?
As a brainstorming partner, I mean, I wouldn't recommend going into creating any agents or any automations. I just think that you can use it to challenge you, to think out of the box. I mean, for example, when I was writing the book, I completed like the chapter, but I wanted to see if there was anything else. And instead of spending a long time thinking about it, I say, okay, I'm going to check. My way is using Claude initially, and then Perplexity. Perplexity is fantastic for research, whereas Claude is fantastic for writing, coding, and many, many other things. But my favorite, sorry. But use it to expand your thinking. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, I personally as well, I use Perplexity a lot for research, and it gives me a lot of sources that I need to corroborate and validate some of the information that I already know.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's a great tool. And nowadays, yeah, the AI tools are evolving with more and more features. Of course, we have to be always careful to validate information, but as a partner, as you mentioned, as a collaboration partner, it really works really, really well.
Yeah, and particularly for clinical research, where we all have, or most of us, I will say 99% time, like a scientific brain.
Yeah.
Perplexity gives you the sources that it's using. It gives you that like a cushion to fall in case you doubt or something.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not talking about stuff without pinning down the source, which is very useful.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, something else that I could say about that for project management, and I was starting to write about this, by the way. um, there is a tool that I find amazing. Um, it's called Notebook LM.
Yeah,
Maybe you all know it already, but the first time that I was introduced to Notebook LM, I thought, how much would I have loved to have that with my different clients, with all the contracts, with all the specifications, the communications. How many times have we spent hours looking for the specific meeting minutes with something was said, and now the client is saying that it's not happening, or that did happen, and you doubt, or you are certain that it's the other way around, but you don't have the proof. So with Notebook LM, you put everything in the database, which is local. That is key because I would never recommend putting confidential information or critical information on an LLM. Notebook LM is local, so the difference with other LLMs is that this is using only the information that you give it. So if you give your meeting minutes, for example,
Mhm.
and you just interact with it as if it was ChatGPT, and you say, when and who said that? And it goes and tells you.
Mhm.
And it's fantastic for protocol, for training your team.
Yeah.
It creates infographics, it creates podcasts. I mean, I don't have any commission on Notebook LM, but I love it.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I understand. And I've actually was hearing someone else on TikTok saying that actually, if you want to build a team of experts, you can just say to any tool, yeah, I will build a council and I will nominate, top experts for or Fortune 500 CEOs to be my partners and collaborators. And yeah, and then you can interact with those people like if they were real people. And it's amazing how it's you can get so validated ideas and brainstorming actually arguments for your own research, for your work, for your projects. Yeah, and Notebook LLM, yeah, I've used it a couple of times as well, and it has so much to expand so
Yeah,
far.
when I was studying neuro coaching or brain-based coaching,
Mhm.
as you can imagine, there is a lot of information there. So it was just fantastic just to put all the documentation that I was getting
Yeah.
and then interact with it. Is a fantastic tool for learning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, Eva, this has been outstanding. I really enjoyed your presentation. I just got a final couple of questions to ask you. So, for example, if you were starting a project today, a completely new one, what are the key things you'd focus on from day one?
Well, neurointelligence. I mean, I think I'm thinking of an old saying in Spanish, but I cannot translate it. My brain doesn't work like that. I think that the best way to prepare for your future is prepare yourself.
Oh, yeah,
So if you know how your brain works, you help, reducing hours and hours and hours of frustration.
yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So dedicate time to get ready
Hmm.
and then go for it. Ask for help and yeah, use these strategies. They're so powerful. Seriously.
Mhm. Amazing. Yeah, no, I'm with you with that as one as well. I think you've already answered this one, but I was still going to ask you, what are your favorite go-to project management tools and why?
Okay, so I really like Monday.com.
Mhm.
I actually helped introducing that in my previous company. But as a solopreneur, I can tell you that is very expensive. So I'm not using it. If you're lucky to have it, enjoy it. What I use is ClickUp. I think is the second best option in my opinion. Keeping dependencies, keeping automations in line, something that other tools like Trello doesn't have. Asana does it, but I don't know. I find it lacking in other areas. So ClickUp.
Amazing. I use it Click It myself, and yeah, also provides
They're our sponsor, and I'm not saying it because of that.
amazing. Yeah, and if you had more time, which area outside of project management and neuroscience would you focus on, and what draws you to it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I will study more neuroscience. I mean, my main area is coaching, but I find neuroscience so great because let's don't forget that all these strategies are not something that have been there forever. They have started being built in the last 10, 15 years. Because with the evolution of our diagnostic tools, we can identify much better the ways the brain works. So I will dedicate more time to yeah. I don't know. I'm a molecular biologist, so neuroscience will be my thing. Apart from my family and my friends, for sure. And it's a thing.
Amazing. No, no, thank you. Thank you very much, Eva. Yeah, thank you for being here, for your participation. I think this was outstanding, and people will, yeah, have a lot of things that, to rethink, to reflect. And for sure, I think your future sessions, your book is going to be a big, big, big reference for people, avoiding the burnout and to get more from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody's attendance. Have a nice rest of your days.
Okay, thank you. So a quick reminder to everyone, this session is part of the project management webinar series running up to March, leading into our in-person working event at the Malaga Tech Park for 2 days, 25 and 26 of March. If today's conversation resonated, Malaga is where it comes together. We'll be hosting more webinars in this series, so stay tuned and register for the upcoming sessions. Link will be in the comments. So yeah, also make sure to follow the project management team's newsletter to stay ahead of upcoming speakers, topics, and event updates. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and I'll see you in the next session. Bye.
Abdul. Bye
Bye bye.
bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.